Well, we'll see what happens, folks. I am. Can you hear me okay, honey bunny?
Do you want me to pop up the chat box for you?
No, I'm trying to see if she can hear me. Okay. You can see me all right too? Well, of course they did. I couldn't I couldn't get the computer to shut down the old stream. Eventually YouTube timed it out or something. I don't know. And then we went to start a new stream, and then it wants to. Who the hell are you? Hate freaking computers. Anyhow, see one person there. That must be you, honey bunny. Oh, let's see. Hey, Tricky, how's it going?
Hi, Tricky. Kiss the babies.
You must have signed in after the last stream totally cratered. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was a internet interruption over here. Um, right now, I think we're on Eva's.
Yeah, you're probably on. Yes, you are.
Yeah, we're on Eva's
Sitting right
cell
here.
phone here.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, how's things going with you, Tricky? Um, we found out what it's like to get biting flies up here. Oh, itch, itch, itch. How annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, about a dozen bites here.
Huh. Only a dozen. I don't want to hear you complaining about that.
I'm not complaining. Yeah. You have damaged your knee and hip. Tricky, what are we going to do with you? You just keep breaking things. You know, if you don't get better, we're just going to have to put you on restriction or something. You have to play nice.
What did he do?
I don't know. He says he damaged his knee and hip. Yeah, how bad is it, Tricky? Here, I've been climbing ridiculous mountains, although I imagine where you're at, that the vegetation would be harder to push through. But yeah, we had a pretty good weekend. Oh, he doesn't have mine chefs over there, honey bunny. He's got treasure chefs. Oh, with bombs and toxic chemicals and things. Jeez. Uh, but anyhow, yeah, we had a pretty good weekend and got our survey points in, got our claims, found some holes in the ground. Yeah. Did you uh, did you see the video I posted yesterday, Tricky? Definitely got some interesting situations, but it take a little while to figure out exactly what's going on. They're not easy to access. Let me put it that way.
Well, hopefully a few other people show up.
We got 3 right now. So, anyhow, we found out that the stripping circus doing a good job, and the resin doesn't have much gold in it, according to Eva's uh, first fire assay of resin. And found the flocculate does seem to precipitate some gold. Okay. Um, Found out what frickin' biting flies are all about. Kind of sucks. Aside from mosquitoes, do you have biting insects over there, Tricky?
Oh, they have zillions.
It's hard to tell anybody. Oh, Eva's planning on doing her report here shortly.
No, I'm not.
You're not? Thought you were going to.
Nope.
No?
The goddess must be silent.
Really?
Everything I want to talk about would probably get us banned.
Ah, okay.
I shall behave.
Hey, Tricky. Off subject here. What is the story you're hearing? Eva confirms your thing of biting things. What is the story that you're hearing and the kind of the whole thing of what happened with the Trump assassination attempt a couple of days ago? Just kind of curious what the general perception is over there, because there's some interesting stuff happening over here, but I'm wondering how much of it is being transmitted to other countries. I would think the Philippines would be a fairly neutral country in terms of that. It's not a huge pro-U.S. or anti-U.S., I wouldn't think.
We used to have a military base there.
Yes, I know there. But I'm just curious. Hey, Brian, how's it going? Sorry about that. I think there was an internet interruption and YouTube just couldn't figure out what the fuck was. I couldn't shut down the stream. And what I could have done was eliminated the stream, but then all that information would be gone for you there. So I didn't want to do that. And so, yeah, we haven't figured out exactly what's going on with the stripping solution, but it does appear that it has a limited effective life, and or we got some bad cartridges. But I remember doing kind of the same thing before. So I think what we're going to be doing is changing solution again and try stripping the same cartridges. Yeah, I understand, Brian. Again, I'm kind of restricted by confidentiality issues. Otherwise, I'd be happy to show you all the. I showed you all the important details, not the actual, precise methodology, but you can duplicate it from that.
Oh.
Tricky, is it known over there that people reported a gunman many minutes before the actual shooting, and that the police snipers were pointing their guns apparently at the gunman for like 42 seconds before he got off his first shot? I'm just curious if that's showing up over there, because let's say it seems pretty important. Everything's on video. There's all these people. There's video of all these things, but it's also interesting to me from a societal gestalt standpoint that, okay, yeah, you should have enough, Brian. It's amazing how many people were comfortable getting on the internet and publishing videos of themselves bewailing, not just somewhat disappointed, but bewailing the failure of this guy, who's, from all accounts, was a terrible marksman. But anyhow, I think it was a setup. I mean, I forget who it was. Somebody I was just watching was saying either it's incredibly gross incompetence or a deliberate setup by the Secret Service. And say that's the story that's going on here, but there's a lot of people that have been posting TikTok videos and things like that, saying, screaming that, you idiot, why couldn't you have been a better shot? Which gives me a concern about the societal gestalt.
Government officials posting on social media.
Yeah, I say it's too many people that are just too comfortable saying stuff that 10 years ago would have got you thrown in jail,
including government officials.
Yeah, Brian, as I say, I think you probably got enough details you could easily re-engineer it from scratch and probably do as good or better a job as I did. I'm pretty sure it was a setup. I mean, why would they wait for a guy with a rifle pointed at the president to shoot before shooting
After
him?
he
And
pulled the
why
gun on 2 cops?
Didn't they get Trump off the stage as soon as there was any reports of a possible guy with a gun? And these things happened many minutes before Trump started his speech. So that's
not to mention the number of government employees that were openly saying things online that no government employee should be saying. Teachers too.
Yeah. But anyhow,
the world's going a little nuts here.
Yeah. It's from the standpoint over here, it's like it looks to me like it was a setup. The guy was a patsy. But I don't think our society, I mean, it's so bifurcated and so, I know the term, it's polarized, but extremized, that I've got a very bad feeling of how this is going to turn out over the next few months. Pretty confident that things are going to get significantly worse. So that's the view from over here. And say I'm just let me know kind of what's the perception over there, because I'm just curious what other people see, because I can only see what I see. Some may be wrong. Well, certainly some is wrong and some is right. But my viewpoint is based on what I see. And it's interesting to me as an exercise to understand what other people see and how they interpret it, especially people that I believe to have relatively good judgment in general. But anyhow, Honey Bunny, according to Robert Barnes, there's a reason this happened in Pennsylvania, because the courts and
look up
law
Viva
enforcement
Fry.
Is just as corrupt in Pennsylvania now as it was in Texas in 63? So that we can be pretty much guaranteed there won't be a thorough investigation, or a thorough, honest investigation. That's his theory. Barnes is usually pretty sharp and on it. But anyhow, so I'm thinking that you should have pretty much everything you need there, Brian. Appreciate it.
Well, if anybody wants to hear from me, I'm sure I can find something to say. However,
did his dad report the gun stolen? Not to my knowledge, Brian. I don't understand why stupidity is winning the race. How are rational, normal people being brainwashed? In my opinion, the corporate media have a lot to do with that, but also the celebrities and this and that and the other. Okay. Because when you have people saying crazy stuff that are supposedly people of some sort
No,
of
the Teamsters are at the RNC apparently.
authority or moral authority or educational authority. Like, what is a woman? Well, why is that a question? You know? So it's a pretty bizarre situation. I think only a very wealthy society could afford to get this stupid. Well, we really can't. We're going to pay a price. But in most societies, such foolishness would have rapidly degenerated into non-functionality and would have had to get better. Not heard anything about that, Brian. I know that the reporting has been that this dad bought the gun for the child. I don't know if that's
I
true
do
or not.
have some information on this issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so the nutball, the
Shooter.
the beta male nutball shooter, was apparently a super genius loner who got bullied throughout school. He did
Probably
win some
tricky.
kind of award in engineering or something. He was living at home. He was working as a cook or kitchen helper of some sort at a nursing home. Dad had bought him the AR-15 because he wanted to join the school shooting club. He turned out to be such a bad shooter that they wouldn't even let him on the school shooting club.
Which is a good thing for Trump.
Yeah, which is interesting in and of itself. When you put that together with the fact that the red dot sight on that gun was apparently mounted on the handguard.
Well, red dot's the wrong thing anyway for that kind of.
Well, one has to wonder about this person. There are many, many things.
Oh, I had trouble closing the old one down, Chris.
There are many, many things that many, many people are wondering about right now. Like, it has now come out that he was wandering around being squirrely for 26 minutes before this event. And there had been multiple radio conversations between various local police and Secret Service who threw the local police under the bus. It should also be noted that most
Mr.
of
Virtue.
Trump's regular Secret Service team, the actual competent people, were guarding Dr. Jill, not Joey. Dr. Jill at a presidential rally campaign event also in Pennsylvania. So the only person on Trump's regular team was the team lead. Everybody else was a bunch of desk jockeys from a local field office, which does explain the women on the radio saying, where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do? And the fact that they had a 5-foot tall chick trying to protect a 6'4" male. Okay? It's pretty hard to take a bullet for somebody when you only come up to their waist. Just saying. This entire situation is 50 shades of fishy. And of course, the FBI is going to do a very thorough, highly investigative, highly professional, totally amazing investigation. They're doing it right now, and they finally managed to unlock this dude's phone, apparently. But we won't hear anything about that.
They're working very diligently to acquire that much whitewash.
Well, let's face it, they're going to do the same kind of thorough investigation they did on Mandalay Bay, and the same thorough investigation they did on the Russia Steel report. And, there may be a few lies told to get a few FISA warrants. Who knows? It should be totally and completely uninformative. Yeah. Just saying. But it should be noted that it is entirely bizarre how many people with actual government jobs, like working for the Commerce Department and the FBI, amongst other people, were casually posting on their social media accounts and saying, well, damn, too bad he missed. We could have used a martyr at this point. And other interesting comments of the same type. It's not only highly interesting that so many people, ordinary people with very few followers, have no problem at all saying, oh, damn, that beta male missed. This fucking sucks. Now we need to try again. But to have people who work for the government, people who are in law enforcement, first responders, teachers, all out there making these kinds of comments on their social media and then being all surprised when they get dogpiled on and they get fired from their jobs is really rather interesting. It's been fascinating spending my time on Facebook and Twitter reporting people. You wouldn't believe the stuff people are saying. Why? If you didn't know better, you'd think we were in the middle of a mass psychosis event and the psychotics are beginning to decompensate. Just saying,
Nice one, laptop.
you know?
Nice one.
Uh-huh. It would not surprise me, laptop. But no, I mean, if you didn't know better, you would think we were in the middle of a mass psychosis event and all of the psychotic people are beginning to decompensate. Well, of course, we all know that that is definitely not the case. Hmm. We all know that. Absolutely. Anyway, other than that, absolutely nothing has happened in the news. And the goddess very, very much hopes that the flies are gone by the next time we go up on top of the hill. Because look at these bites. I don't know if you can see them, but there's an entire nest of them here. They hurt. And yes, you're right, Brian, the hat. If I'm going to talk to people, we need to have the hat on to protect us from the government mind rays. And yes, I know the tinfoil hat has been working overtime lately and definitely needs to have the deflector shielding increased. And I need to get a larger bow because, the government mind rays are going to get even worse at this time of the year. Just saying. But there is absolutely no other random news because all the news has been kind of, focused around things like political rallies and stuff like that. Just saying. They're not wabbit ears, they're cat ears. Can you go get me my tablet so I can look up some mining news or something? And not much is going on with gold and silver prices in the middle of all this. Gold and silver are still on sale. So it's a great time to back up the truck and trade some of that nice brightly colored fiat from your whatever country you happen to live in. And yes, no news is good news, Mr. Virtue. We could use a whole lot more of that right now. It's ridiculous what's going on. We have a number if you want an update back there.
Somebody took the. There's the other one.
It's right here. Just saying.
Okay.
34908 212 infinity. So that's where we're going with that. There was a jobs report of some kind, which is going to be updated, so we're not even going to worry about it. It's going to be revised downward in a month or two. There was also an inflation report, and apparently inflation came down 0.1% or something along those lines. Be still my beating heart. Just saying, inflation has come down. That report will also be quietly revised in a month or two. We all know how this works, or we should by now. Just saying. Seabed mining regulator meets amid mounting pressure for code. So, You know, we've been watching an occasional story come out on this seabed mining thing. Okay. The International Seabed Authority, I wonder who promoted that, off on Monday. A new 2-week meeting expected to be a pivotal one as the UN body, oh great, the terrorist organization there, works on the world's initial regulations for the activity with plans to finalize its decade-long effort to enact a code by 2025. Gathered in Kingston, Jamaica until July 26th, the 36-member ISA Council will negotiate the latest draft of the anticipated seabed mining rules. It will also meet on July 29th to elect a new Secretary General, with Brazilian marine scientist Leticia Carvalho standing against the incumbent, Michael Lodge, a UK lawyer. One has to wonder why they have a lawyer in charge, but oh well. Despite the absence of formal rules, you know. Oh, everybody says bless you. You sneezed, right? Despite the absence of formal rules, deep sea mining could technically start this year. As Canada's The Metals Company, one of the companies with the most advanced plans to extract key metals from the nodules covering the seafloor, is expected to submit a mining license application before the end of 2024. One of the TMC's ISA contracts is sponsored by the tiny Pacific island nation of Nauru, which in 2021 triggered a provision requiring ISA to enact mining regulations by 2023, which didn't work, by the way. It's
Thank you, Mr. Virtue.
passed. The ISA missed that deadline and so must start accepting license applications. How the ISA will respond to applicants is a key question for the coming weeks. Under existing rules, a mining application must be approved by the group's Legal and Technical Commission, which then issues recommendations to the body's ruling council. For a license to be granted, it would need the support of 1/3 of the council's 36 members. Interesting. Oh, good grief. Well, we don't expect much else out of the WEF now, do we? AI immortality is another subject for a different day. Yes. The issuing of mining licenses will also depend on who is elected as the new Secretary General, particularly if regulations are enacted. The individual in this position holds the power to oversee the administrative functions of ISA and is responsible for negotiating contracts with mining companies. The new leader's commitments to environmental sustainability will impact how strictly environmental assessments and safeguards are enforced, potentially influencing the approval or denial of seabed mining licenses based on habitat impact considerations. Analysts predict the election of Carvalho, the head of the Marine and Freshwater Division at the UN Environment Program in Nairobi, could signal a significant shift from current leadership of Michael Lodge. Lodge, whose second 4-year term concludes in December, has faced criticism for his dismissive stance on environmental opposition to deep sea mining and his close ties with mining contractors regulated by the ISA. Ocean floor mining supporters estimate the activity could provide up to 45% of the world's critical metal needs by 2065. They also believe the UN High Seas Treaty, agreed in March last year by member countries, won't jeopardize exploration. The accord aims to place up to 30% of the world's oceans that lie outside national boundaries under protection by 2030. Okay, so yeah. The effort is apparently moving forward to mine the ocean floor. We shall see what actually happens with this, okay? I'm not entirely sure that that's going to be too much of a worry, at least not in the immediate future. And I must say that, it is my considered opinion I would prefer that we were mining on land rather than at sea because, I mean, let's face it, things can get a little bit dicey when you're working deeply underwater. I can see a lot of problems with that. So we shall see what we shall saw. I am trying to get something to load here other than what I was just looking at. I may have to actually close that. Good grief. Unfortunately, when both the machines are running on my phone, things get a little bit difficult. But yes, gold and silver are still on sale, which is a great reason to go shopping. Not that anybody actually should need a reason to go shopping. You know, this isn't why gold is rallying. This is an interesting article here. Gold is jumping again after a crazy weekend that saw Donald Trump miraculously surviving an assassination attempt. But anyone thinking that's why gold is moving higher is missing the big picture. The hyperbolic polarization of America's politics culminated over the weekend with an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I won't comment on that event as I have nothing to add to the flood of information, speculation, and commentary you are no doubt endured from mainstream and social media. I'll focus instead on the implication for the markets, particularly metals and miners. And here we're seeing some major misunderstandings of what's truly driving metals prices higher. Pricing in the inevitable. As I write, gold's up about 1%, silver's up only about half of that on a percentage basis. The yellow metal was actually down in overnight trading despite the attempt on Trump's life over the weekend. This was a sensible reaction since, as I've repeatedly said, geopolitical issues should have no effect on the real gold price. This is Brian London, by the way, who's talking, for anybody who's interested. In short, gold isn't rising because of the assassination attempt. But gold began to rise later in the morning as mainstream financial news sources speculated about the implications of a Trump presidency, which now seems all but assured. They noted Trump would likely fire Powell, hope springs eternal in the heart of man, in favor of someone more politically malleable and amenable to easier monetary policy. So gold took off. Whether that view is proven correct or not, and it does seem likely to me, gold began moving higher 2 weeks ago because investors were beginning to price in up to two Fed rate cuts this fall. Yeah, you heard that right. Looks like our dear friends at the Fed, Yellen, the felon, Jay Powell, and everybody else fooling around with that system, are already, you know, telegraphing behind the scenes somewhere that they're looking at a couple of price cuts. Very, very not great, but oh well. Those rate cuts have been inevitable for all the reasons I've been outlining. This reaction to the upcoming rate moves is not surprising and certainly hasn't surprised you if you read the Golden Opportunities. Golden Opportunities is a newsletter that's put out by Brian London. You can probably get on the email list at moneymatters.com. But I want to share with you some thoughts I sent to our gold newsletter alert leaders on Friday, which I recapped my impressions from 4 days at Rick Rule's symposium. Between my presentations, interviews, and discussions with attendees and other speakers, I feel like I summarized my views on the market over 100 times, but it was a good exercise that led me to reflect on what's next for the market and what the next big driver will be. Of course, the obvious choice is the Fed pivot, which I believe is being priced in at this moment, not only in gold and silver, but all risk assets. After relatively benign CPI numbers, two Fed rate cuts are now being priced in for the year, with the projected first to come at the September meeting. As I recapped ad nauseum, the market drivers so far of central bank and domestic Chinese buying, I also shared with my listeners the fact these factors put us in a very good place as the biggest driver of Fed pivot still lays ahead. The goddess does believe that the Fed is intending to pivot. They're going to hold their pivot to the time when it will do Lord Malarkey the most good in the selection that's coming up. Just saying, because when they pivot, the market gets happy temporarily. So they want to give Lord Malarkey every chance they possibly can at this point over there in Mordor on the Potomac. If someone had told us early in the year that not only were we not going to get 5 rate cuts in 2024, but sentiment would shift toward no cuts at all, we would have expected gold to lose $200 to $300 in price, and instead we gained 400. In the complete absence of Western buying, Eastern buying had propelled the price much higher. This was weird and truly unprecedented in that Eastern buyers had always come in on gold price declines, while Western investors had always chased the gold price upward. Now it seemed Western buyers were waiting on a theme that they could understand and project forward, that being the Fed pivot. Then it hit me. Who's to say that as the Fed shifts to the rate cutting side of the cycle, both Eastern and Western buyers won't come in at the same time? This would not only be unprecedented, but gold price response could be extraordinary. And while there's no assurances it'll happen, there's also no good reason why it wouldn't. Remember, Asian buyers have just demonstrated their proclivity to follow the price upward, and central banks have been largely price insensitive in their buying. I don't believe many are considering the possibility both Eastern and Western buyers will swamp the gold market in the near future, but it is something to seriously consider, and that is a pretty good price there. That is a fairly good analysis and a fairly good look at where the price could be going. Now, some months ago, the goddess was saying that she figured we would probably see this year's silver settling in at a new hard floor of $30 or higher, and gold settling in at a new well-supported hard floor of 2350 to 2400. We are still on track for those to become our numbers here going into September, October, toward the end of the summer. That's where I'm looking at things are going to get interesting. Some things may happen. That's where I'm looking at things are going to get interesting. Some things may happen in the world before then that will make things a whole lot more interesting and a whole lot more volatile. But at the moment, gold is holding at $2,429 and silver is at $30.82. Yes. And yes, you all know by now, I am a fan of silver. Okay?
No.
Just saying.
Shocked, I tell you.
Well, some of us have to appreciate the good metal, Just saying. But gold and silver are still on sale. We still have a bird flu epidemic going on. Well, it's actually a bird flu pandemic now. And this is going to make life very difficult for the vaccine people. Believe it or not. It turns out they went and developed an mRNA vaccine for bird flu. And they have a few other mRNA vaccines in the pipeline of various types for various other things like regular flu and COVID 23 or 24 or 38 or whatever number we're up to now in the COVID, which, by the way, is still going on and people are still dropping dead by the millions. At least that's what they say on Reddit. They're very strange over there. They're even more delusional than the rest of the nutballs. But anyway, one of the problems with this, coincidentally enough, it turns out that they need egg yolks to make these vaccines. Go figure. So now they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They're sitting here telling the world, well, we're going to give you a bunch of brand new vaccines so that human beings won't get the bird flu. And so we can start injecting cattle and pigs and shit with mRNA. Well, one of the problems with the bird flu is it's so deadly contagious that when it hits a battery farm, they find one bird that tests positive and they destroy the whole battery farm, which can be millions of birds. Well, it's kind of hard to make vaccines out of egg yolks,
Is this really a chicken and the eggs scenario?
pretty much.
Ah,
Because it turns out that it's very difficult to make vaccines out of egg yolks if you went and killed all the laying hens. This could be a problem.
61.
Now, it should be noted that this is one of the oddest cases of bird flu pandemics
It didn't come
that-
from a lab.
that the goddess has ever seen, because so far in the last couple of weeks, I saw several articles talking about the bird flu now being in dairy cattle and found in dairy cattle in 25 or 28 states now, and found in pigs. And they think it's completely endemic now in the wild bird population, the new strain of bird flu, not the old strain of bird flu. But they haven't strain of bird flu. But they haven't had to cull a battery farm in almost 3 weeks now. Very, very bizarre. Cases of large eggs are still on sale at Walmart for $13 a case.
Is that what happened
They're in
to
stock,
Biden?
which they aren't. Yeah, well, SARS-CoV-2 is a little bit bizarre, okay? But they're already talking about the news stories on this new bird flu. They're trying to get people worried because all the news stories are concentrating on farm workers, either poultry farm workers, battery farm workers, or dairy workers getting the new bird flu, and harping on the fact that the old bird flu apparently had a 50% mortality rate. Well, when you look into the stories behind that, it didn't turn out to be exactly that way, but of course that fact has gotten memory hold along with a whole bunch of other shit. But yeah, the most we have seen in humans this time